So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and time for another ramblings. Well, ramblings with a bit of a difference. So this is a ramblings and a moan. There's no other way to put about it. So I'm on the test server, just taking a look around. This is the 9.19 patch, which is due to come in at the end of this month. If everything goes according to scale. Now bear in mind this is the test server, so things can change. It doesn't necessarily stay like this all the way through, but let's have a quick look at some of the changes that you can see here. So first up, a good thing like this. So this is a special page you can go in to look at the different missions that are available at the moment. Now these are, I presume these are just examples, not actual ones, but I like the fact that they appear to be going back to a daily mission. When I used to play the game, started playing the game, you got rewards for playing every day. They were only small things, but they added up in extra experience or something like that. So it looks like they're doing something like this, and you collect tokens to then receive complete daily missions to get a T25 pilot. Okay, well, anything is better than nothing, isn't it? I've already got it. So other mission here to collect locusts. So presumably these are all different ones you can do at different levels. So that's nice, and I like the fact this is easy to find and easy to see what your mission is that you need to accomplish. There's also another tab that gives you tactical ones. So this is another set of missions to get 10,000 credits. You complete all conditions of 3 battles. There you go. Into the breach for the T62A. So again, nice to see. And then some specific ones for the individual tanks if they exist. Well, they do here, so there you go. So good, I like that. Anything that makes the UI better and easier to use is good in my book. Now the astute of you will have noticed there's this thing up here, special kind of rewards. So you have your gold, you have your silver, and you have your free XP, and there's also these bonds. Now bonds are a new currency that are being trialed in the test server, and these are the things that are getting my goat rather. So basically there is a new game mode in the game called Ranked Battles. Here we go. Ranked Battles currently is only available for tier 10 games, tier 10 tanks. You play against players who are roughly the same sort of ability as you, so that should help, and you win or earn these bonds, a special kind of currency. Now they claim you will not be able to use them, buy them any other way. You can only earn them through the game, and as far as I understand, you own it if your team wins and you come in the top 10 or 12 on the team, you get bonds. If you lose, your team lose, but you still come in the top 3 of your team, you get bonds. So that's how you earn them. What can you use them for? Well, it's nice of you to ask. So what you can use them for, and this is what gets me very, very excited, is you can buy improved equipment. When I say excited, I don't mean in a positive way. I'm not happy with this at all. So you can see here, there's improved gun lane growth. All the equipment can be improved to get better. So you get improved gun rammer, so loading system, 12.5 load time improvement as opposed to 10 on the standard. You can see they're special because they're purple. So there's a normal gun rammer. Doesn't actually say, but it is. Oh yeah, there are 10% load time. New improved rammer, 12.5%. So there's all this extra equipment you can fit in on your tank to improve it. Now this equipment is one-off purchases, so you would need to demount. So I would need to demount this thing to put the gun round in. That won't let me. We're gonna have to demount it first. So why is that annoying me? Well, oh, and that's not the end of it. So there's also these directive slots. So these are kind of like an extra consumable that you can use. So those are one-time onlys. So you have to rebuy them basically. So again, you can improve even more. So I could put that improved gun rammer on, which gives me 12.5%, and then another 2.5 through this directive, which gives me 2.5%. So I've suddenly got a gun rammer that's 15% improvement on loading, 5% better than the standard one you can get on your gun. And you can use these on all sorts of things. You can also get crew improvements, better concealment, better snapshot, better smooth ride. All these things are better sixth sense. What does that do? Don't know what that does. Anyway, so all of these are consumables and will need to be resupplied. So why is that getting my goat? Well, two things really. One, it forces you to play the tier 10 ranked battles, because if you don't, you're never going to have the chance to buy these extra equipment. And if you don't do that, the second reason is that you are suddenly going to be even worse off than everybody else. So the good players who play this game incessantly and are addicted to it more than I am will play tier 10s happily all day long. I hate tier 10s. I don't really enjoy the game very much. It's much prefer the tier 8, tier 6, tier 7 level, but that's because I'm a noob. But there are players out there that will play tier 10, and particularly if there's these kinds of freebies available, and they will play a lot, and they will earn these bonds very, very rapidly. Now currently you can use this extra directives and extra equipment on any battle, so it's not limited to the game where that game mode particularly. You can use them in random battles, you can use them in clan wars, you can use them in strongholds, doesn't matter. So given the fact they can be used anywhere, means effectively if you're prepared to spend the time on ranked battles, you will have a significant advantage on everybody else. And you can't, there's no limits on how you can use this equipment. So you could conceivably go and put it in your tier 4 seal clubber. Why you'd want to, I don't know, but you could. Say you earned I don't know how easy these things are going to be to earn in ranked battles, but you could end up having so much of these bonds available that you could buy a gun rammer for, I don't know, your Hetzer, and stick that down in tier 4 and obliterate everybody. Because not only are you going to be a better player than most people down there in those tiers, but you're suddenly going to have a 2.5% or even 5% if you use the other consumables advantage over everyone else crew skill wise. So I saw Quickie Babes did a video on this as well. He was also extremely concerned about it, and you know, he's a far bigger player than me. So hopefully Wargaming will take notice of this. I mean, he made the point, and I think it's a good one, is that in most other online games where there is some kind of ranking system or ranking tournament, all you get is special badges or some kind of acclaim through, you know, special colour schemes or flags or whatever it is, to denote the fact you're good. And you know, for the ego of people who want to do ranked battles, that's probably enough. So why the hell are Wargaming giving them a significant bonus against regular players? We already have a problem in this game of too many new players dropping out too soon. They don't stick at it long enough because they get tired of being rumple-stomped by good players who swan around with fantastic crews who are very, very good players, and generally spam gold the whole time. Then you're going to give them special equipment as well? Come on, Wargaming, what are you on? I just do not get the logic of that at all. And I hope they see sense, because the way this game is going, it seems increasingly to be pandering to the Super Unicom audience. The guys who are very, very good spend an awful lot of time playing the game, but are very small in number. There's probably only, I don't know, 1%, 2% who at that sort of Super Unicom level, maybe not even that percentage. And yet everything Wargaming seem to be doing at the moment seems to be pandering to them. You look at the artillery nerfs. Now that clearly was because a lot of these very good players were moaning very vocally about it. I just, yeah, words fail me really on Wargaming. I mean, maybe I'm overacting. Let me know. I'm prepared to admit maybe I am. I definitely overacted on 9.18, and I don't think it's as bad as I thought it was going to be. But really, giving advantage to players, good players, against normal players, don't get it. At least make these, if you're going to insist on having this special equipment and special consumables, mean that they can only be used in ranked battles, not in normal random or stronghold battles. Can you imagine going up against a top team of a top clan in your stronghold battles, where you've got your usual scrub team most clans can pull together of just who happens to be available and online at the time, against one of these super clans who are already incredibly well organized, know exactly what they're doing, very well coordinated, and all their tanks are 5% better at reloading, or their scouts are 5% better at spotting. They're, you know, give me a break. Give me a break. I think that's a serious miscalculation by Wargaming, and I hope this is one of the things we do not see in the patch for real. But let me know if you think I'm overreacting. Please do. I'm prepared to admit it if I am. Other thing to talk about on this patch, actually not just this patch, but generally, I'm going to so preferential matchmaking tanks. We know that Wargaming don't want them in the game. We know that they're not bringing them into the game anymore. So tanks like the KV5, no longer available in the store, although they sell them from time to time. Benefit of these tanks is that they will only see one tier higher matchmaking. So they can never be, this is a tier 8 tank, it can never see tier 10s unless you platoon up with somebody who pulls you into that matchup. That's because these things are not good enough gun-wise to compete. They've had this KV5 has had a little bit of an improvement in its gun performance, but it still only has penetration of 167 with its standard rounds, 219 with its APCR rounds. Now the problem that's happened, and I've noticed this fairly recently because I've been playing a little bit to recoup my credits, is that with the new matchmaking, effectively all these premature all these preferential matchmaking tanks have been nerfed. Now statistically they haven't changed, but I'll take you an example. Last night I played a game with Shoot and Scoot and Bluebeard, I think it was, and we all took our preferential matchmaking heavy tanks out, and we got in a tier 8 game, which is fine, so we were top tier, but all 15 tanks on each team were tier 8s. And the problem is with that we were going up against WZ132s, WZ111s, we were going up against Defenders, Patriots, and this thing is just not compatible. Is not comparable with those in terms of its performance. It's slow, its armour can be penetrated by their standard rounds because they've got such high pen, and if they can't, they just switch to premium and go straight through you like a knife through butter, and your gun cannot penetrate them. I was shooting at a defender in the lower plate because I couldn't get round the flank because I'm slow and heavy, and I couldn't even pen his lower plate. And meanwhile he's blowing 400 damage out of me plus every shot. And in the previous matchmaking, you would probably have seen, I don't know, maybe a couple of tier 9s, 3 or 4 tier 8s, the rest would have been 7s, and this thing against tier 7 is a beast. But you're not going to see that probably, not very often. I mean, I suppose conceivably it could be a 3-5-7 game, one of these are 3-5-7 elusive games. But I don't know about you guys, I so rarely see those games now. More often than not, I see the 5-10 games, so 5 top tiers, 10 middle tiers. and in which case I can almost guarantee I will never be top tier in this KV5. Or the other option I see, as what I just talked about, was where the entire team is the same tier, in which case you just are not compatible against these new super premiums out there. So Wargaming, I think I'm going to put in a claim to get my money back from my KV5 and my Super Pershing and my, because they have been nerfed in every other way. There is no way this thing can stand up against that thing. There's no way this thing can stand up against this thing in a straight fight. And that's a significant issue for me. And it is effectively a nerfing of these preferential matchmaking tanks. So on the ranked battles, when you do successfully finish in the top 12 on a winning team or top 3 of a losing team, you get awarded some kind of rank, so you get points for it, and I'm assuming the points go up as you move forward. So, but the first one is pretty easy to get. I didn't play a particularly great game there, managed to get it. It gave me 10,000 credits as well, and 50% additional experience token for my guys. And you can see I'm not very good in tier 10s. I don't play them enough. Finished way down the bottom, in fact only just in a scoring position, 1733 damage and 744 base XP. So that will give me a star. Yeah, we won't go into details. So there you go, I've achieved a rank. There we go. I need 3 to move on to this one, okay? And then presumably that takes another 3, is it? Another 3. Another 3. Now, I believe you do not lose between the seasons, so these run for a certain period of time, these rank battles. Once you've got the chevron, you don't lose it. Okay? To earn this mission, so I get another 10,000 credits if I complete 3 battles by being in the top 10 players on your turn by base experience. Okay? And season awards. So I've received my first set of season awards. I've received an additional load of bonds. So you will receive at the end of the stage a crate with various rewards. So okay, that's good. So I mean, I like this idea. What I do not like is the fact that these bonds can be played elsewhere, can be used elsewhere, because that was easy. I played 2 games. I won 1, lost 1, didn't play particularly brilliantly, and I've just got a whole load of bonds, and I've also on my way to getting a chevron. I don't know. It just seems to me this is fine, and I quite like the idea of the ranked battles. But just give us the chevrons, give us these extra gold, that's fine, and maybe a reward. We do not need directive slots, and we do not need special equipment. Let me know what you think down below. Am I overreacting? Possibly. Possibly not. So some more stuff that we saw about the upcoming patch 9.19. First up, talked about this in the last ramblings. The fact there's going to be new voices, female voices for tank crews. So if you've got females in your crew, you can get shouted at by women in different foreign languages, which is very exciting for certain of us. Now I was questioning how that works, whether it's just the commander or whether it's the individual crew person that determines whether or not they speak in as a lady's voice or not. Apparently it's just the commander. So if your commander is a girl, all your commands from the tank will be with a lady's voice. That's the way it's going to work. So fair enough. Continuing the shitstorm around the VK7201. So backtrack on this one. So when they changed the German line in 9.17, they brought in this new tier 10 heavy tank, the Panzer Kampf 7. Now the shitstorm was about this was because this tank already existed. It was already in the game as Clan Wars reward tank, so VK7201K. And people, quite rightly, I think, were very pissed about that because you had worked hard to get the Clan Wars reward, and then suddenly they were bringing in a tank that was identical, absolutely identical. I think they got different guns, but that's about it. And basically all Wargaming said, well, you know, we'll give you a different paint job on your Clan Wars just to show how special you are and how we appreciate all the hard work you did in the Clan Wars, like they do. And people were pissed, and I don't blame them at all. Wargaming, again, running roughshod over people's feelings and what they think about the game, but they just ignored it and did it anyway. But 919, they're making it all right, because suddenly the VK will get extra chain tracks, spare tracks on the tank, and a new anti-aircraft machine gun, just to stress the uniqueness of the reward tank. Yeah, that'll do it. Good job. Perks. Now this is a really good one and long overdue. So all the female crews in the game now, then you've got them through the Swedish missions over Christmas time, if I remember rightly. There was you can get them through the various missions that are going, personal missions that are going through, where you get Stug, the T-55, etc. But the problem with them is that they come with Sisterhood Steel perk, and if you had a male crew with Brothers in Arms, they didn't work together. So you could have a mixed match of girls and boys in your crews, and their perk for Sisterhood or Brothers in Arms would not work. Now they're going to change that, and in 9.19 it doesn't matter whether they're girlies or boys, you will still get the 5% boost in effectiveness as long as they all have one or other of those types. So that's good. I think that's a really good move, and it's about time they did it. So at least they did something right in this patch. So interesting again, some of the talk about some of the development Q&As that have been going on, this time with the Polish community moderator, I believe that is. So thanks to Daily Bounce for reproducing this on their blog. Really good blog. Catch it out. Go and read the Daily Bounce. I always do. There's some great stuff in there. So some of this stuff is interesting and also worrying in its own sweet way. So Wargaming has plans to introduce wheeled vehicles into the game. So that's interesting. So the Puma armoured car maybe could be coming to World of Tanks fairly soon. That would be good. Obviously with the convoy mode, for those who remember, that was a special mode that was put in the game last year sometime for a brief period, so we had armoured cars. So it clearly works, and they've used that stats to, or use the lessons learnt from that game to work through how they might put wheeled tanks into the game. So GG like that. This one is really annoys the tits off me, frankly. Development of new maps is not a priority at the moment, and has been suspended for the moment. You've got to be kidding me, Wargaming. What are you doing? The whole team is working on bringing HD maps as fast as possible. Oh my goodness me. This is again proof that Wargaming developers do not play their own game. Because if you play Wargaming for any length of time, you realise how sick of the same old maps you get, and how tragically bad some of the maps are and need removing. Ensk, I'm looking at you. That is just a god-awful map. Should be taken out of the game completely. And a lot of these maps need reworking, and we need new maps to keep variety. It's just ridiculous. Likewise, work on historic mode has been suspended for the time being, and focused on the new frontline mode. Well, I can't say I'm too surprised. Historic mode didn't work, so for those who can't remember, this was some time ago now. They introduced a historic battles mode, so you could fight in teams with tanks against, so Russians against Germans, so forth, Americans against Germans, but the tanks you were allowed to take out were modified versions of what you've got in your garage. So good example would be the Tiger 1. The Tiger 1 that's in the game does not have did not have the same 88mm that it's equipped with in the game. It had the one that's actually on the Tiger, the Japanese Tiger, and soon to be on the Tiger 131. It was a much shorter barreled, and so on the historic mode you had to use that gun, for instance. That was an example. Now the problem with it was that it was very unbalanced, because you had to make up the difference. You had multiple tanks on one side against small number of tanks on the other. Yeah, everybody went for the Tiger rather than the Panzer IVs. It just didn't work. So Wargaming withdrew it because people stopped playing it, which was a real shame, because I think it would have been great if they put some real effort in it. And actually, personally, I think if they take the route that Armoured Warfare have, where one side is controlled by the computer and is all bots. No jokes about normal players in World of Tanks being bots, please. But if one side had been bots, and you took, say you took a German tank and you knew that all the Russians against you were all bots, that would be kind of fun. I would quite enjoy playing that. But it looks like that's gone as well for the time being, while they focus on frontline. Wargaming. ST-11, I think that's the dual gunned tank. There was some speculation that they might bring out dual gun tank. I don't know much about that, so we won't talk about that. 30v30 mode test was successful on the sandbox, so that is the frontier mode, frontline mode, sorry, where you had 30 tanks v30 on a much bigger scale. The maps were like 9 times bigger than the standard map, and was good fun. But at the moment you can only fight tier 10, so that will need changing, I guess, as they move forward. But they look like they're really going for that in a big way. Update 918 proved to be, well, I think they said correct, so I presume they mean very successful. Currently data is being corrected and minor fixes being introduced into the future. Well, debatable. Now, I will hold up my hands and say I thought 918 was going to be an absolute disaster. I hated the idea of a lot of it. I've been proved wrong. I think it's actually pretty good mode. I quite like it. I think the matchmaking still needs some work. The rotation you get on the tiering that you're in, so this supposed nirvana that was in the matchmaking, that it should be 3, 5, 7 in terms of tanks. I virtually never get in the top 3, and I find that if I platoon up with people, I'm always bottom tier. But that said, it's fine, it works. I didn't dislike the old matchmaking, to be honest. I was quite happy with the old matchmaking, but whatever. I do think the lights need changing. The view range on the high tier lights is ridiculous and needs improving, or at least, actually more realistically, the heavy tank and the medium tank view range needs nerfing, because it's just ludicrous that light tanks get outspotted by a heavy tank, which they do. I don't play any of the top tier light tanks now, just pointless, can't see the point of it. So personally I think that's wrong. I think the artillery changes have actually worked pretty well. Now, immediately after the patch went in, everybody was playing artillery, so there was lots of it in the games, and that was a nightmare, frankly, with the stun mechanic. Now, most games I play now, you either have one or no artillery, and so that's less of a problem. That's my experience. Let me know down below if you think differently, but that's what I find. So I don't have a problem with the artillery at the moment. However, I do still have a significant problem that they can't platoon together. I think that seriously pisses me off, and it pisses off a lot of players I know, so I think that would be good. I like the recharge of the consumables. I think that's really, really good, and definitely applaud Wargaming for that. I think the map rotation is better, despite what I say about we need more maps, which we do. At least we don't have the situation which used to happen, where you played a series of an hour or 2 hours of a session, and you would basically play 3 different maps. That was all you saw. The rotation of those maps is far, far better. I think the matchmaking as a whole is much better. You don't tend to get the situation where there's a huge imbalance of heavy tanks and medium tanks and light tanks. However, it annoys me how many light tanks there are on top tier, because if you're on a team and all your top tiers are lights, it means they've got to be damn good light players, because basically that's wasted hit points as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, 918 better than I feared, and in some ways very good. So, you know, I sort of applaud Wargaming for that. Sort of. Let me know. I might be wrong, but let me know. I'm prepared to eat a bit of humble pie on that. I think it was better than I feared. Wargaming has plans to introduce a number of new nations to the game, and the introduction of a Polish tree is very likely, or very high, they say. I think they mean likely. So, new tech trees coming. Good, but tech trees are largely irrelevant these days because you just fight premiums, don't you? That's what everyone else does. I keep seeing games where 10, 12, 13 premiums on each side, because why wouldn't you? HD maps have a high priority. There's no timetable for the introduction, but they'll certainly become faster than the HD tanks. I don't give a stuff about HD maps. I'd rather see more maps. EU3 server is not necessarily a problem, is around the infrastructure. I think this is relating to questions around the fact that there seems to have been some instability on the servers lately. Time to time you just can't get on. But Wargaming are not going to invest in new servers, so screw you. And this is around different servers and how there's different offers on different. North America has some really good offers. EU gets buggered mostly. Russia gets everything first. China does its own thing. Southeast Asia gets ignored. That kind of stuff. So basically, they're saying that the offers are set individually and dependent on the popularity of the tanks and other factors. So generally they look to unify events, but each server has its own policy and characteristics. So basically, screw you, they'll do their own thing, irrespective of what we want. So in other news, the Banhammer keeps going down, which is great. So Wargaming is continuing to clamp down on people using dodgy mods and cheating. So another load of first warnings and bans went out, so you can see the numbers here. Southeast Asia had 201 people warned and 51 banned for life for the second offence or more. Russia had 18,871 first warnings and 5,400 banned for life. Big numbers because there's a lot more people obviously on the Russian servers. EU server 2,800 warned and just under 900 banned for good. North America, likewise smaller player base, but 275 warned and 88 banned for good. So good to see. Keep it up. I wish they'd ban more of them. There are still people using illegal mods. I know a couple of people who have talked to me about other people they know for certain who use them and don't actually seem to think there's a problem and don't think they'll get caught. Well, I hope they are, and I hope they get banned, because it ruins it for all of us. So the grand finals of the Wargaming League are coming. 28th of May is when it happens in Moscow. Now you can catch up with it a couple of public viewing events. So there's one in London, there's one in Gothenburg, Madrid and Munich. You'll need to go onto the various websites to check out where exactly. But that should be a good opportunity if you want to go and mix with some other Wargaming crew and people you've played with. It might be a good opportunity to hop along there. The London event is happening at, where is it happening? Oh, Swan Wharf Project. There you go. Never heard of it. So that's where that's happening. Apparently it's London's biggest dedicated gaming venue. Okay. I'm just a noob, I don't understand these things. So they'll be live streaming the grand final, so you can watch that on a big screen. There'll presumably be lots of terminals to play World of Tanks yourself, lots of goodies, food, contests, live music, blah blah blah. Entrance is free, that's good, but you do need to register. So if you're interested, hop along and sign up to that. So as we thought, they're bringing out the Berlin Quartet again for sale to commemorate the end of the war in Europe. Last week we had the ISU 122S, the excellent Russian TD. Now you have the even betterer Rudy, the tier 6 Russian medium tank. This is based on the T-3485, based around a TV series that went out in Poland. Was it in Poland? Yeah, it was in Poland, based on a tank crew supposedly in the Second World War where they had a dog called Rudy, hence why the tank is called Rudy. And if they haven't fixed it yet, one of the unique selling points of this tank was that you don't have a radio man, you have a dog in this tank, and he barks when the sixth sense goes off, but it has been broken for quite some time, so I don't know whether it still barks or not. Maybe people can tell me down below. It's always sold in a package. All these Berlin Quartet tanks always come in a package. It's 20 quid basically, 19.99. You get the tank, you get garage slot, 1,650 gold, and the major selling point is this crew with 100% and brothers in arm perk already assigned to them. So again, for those who don't understand how that works, you basically, when you're training for a skill, it takes a certain amount of XP to get that skill. When you're on your second skill, it takes almost twice as much experience to get that second skill, and third skill gets even harder, fourth skill, so forth, gets harder. Now with this crew, that Brothers in Arms perk is there and doesn't count towards your first skill. So you get all the benefits of being a Brothers in Arms and getting the increased benefits that gives the crew, but you can still earn your next skill at the same pace as if it was your first. So it's a big advantage. Really good. And they only do these with certain crews, certain tanks, so tends to be a Berlin Quartet do it. They've occasionally done it on other tanks, but it's a good deal. Thunderbolt has it clearly as well. So yeah, Rudy in my mind is absolutely a brute of a tank. I love it. I love my Rudy. I play it a lot. Well, actually I haven't played it much lately, but I really like it. I would thoroughly recommend this if you're looking for a Russian medium. It's good for crew training the higher tier Russian medium crews, because they have 4-man crews, but the mid to low ones only have 5-man crews, so this isn't great for that, because as I said, it's got a dog rather than a radio operator, and you can't move the dog out into another tank. He stays in the Rudy all the time.